They tell us that the borders are fixed, that the lines drawn on a map in the 18th century are the final word on where we belong. But history whispers a different story. In the beginning, they weren't called states, they were provinces. It's a word that carries the weight of an assignment, a territory carved out for a specific purpose. Some were meant for God, some were meant for gold, and others were meant to be the buffer against the unknown. By the year 2026, the American map has undergone a silent tectonic shift. The centers of power have migrated. The definition of the good life has been rewritten by a global pandemic, a digital revolution, and a fundamental reassessment of what it means to be safe. Today, we aren't just looking for a place to live. We are looking for a sanctuary. We are looking for the new provinces that have solved the riddle of the 21st century. Why do some regions wither while others experience a sudden, violent rebirth? What makes a patch of dirt in the Midwest more valuable in 2026 than a penthouse in a legacy city? To find the answer, we have to look past the brochures. We have to look at the bones of the land and the ghosts of the decisions made 300 years ago. This is the definitive guide to the 10 best provinces to live in America for 2026. Before we count down, we must address the why. In the 1700s, the province of Pennsylvania or the province of Maryland existed under a proprietary system. An individual or a company owned the right to the land. Your quality of life depended entirely on the vision of that owner. Fast forward to 2026. The owners are now the legislative bodies, the tech giants, and the climate patterns. Living in a state today is a modern version of that proprietary choice. You are buying into a vision. In 2026, we have seen the rise of the great sorting. People are no longer moving just for jobs. Jobs are now digital, ephemeral. People are moving for resilience. They are moving for the 3 pillars: resource security, fiscal sanity, and social cohesion. The states on this list didn't get here by accident. They are the winners of a long-form chess game that started decades ago. 10. The Keystone's second act. We begin our journey in a place that has always been the bridge between the old world and the new. Pennsylvania. Historically, Pennsylvania was the breadbasket of the colonies. It was designed by William Penn as a holy experiment, a province where religious tolerance and fertile soil would create a utopia for the common man. It was the middle ground between the puritanical North and the plantation South. But why is it 10 in 2026? The cause and effect here is fascinating. In the late 20th century, Pennsylvania became the face of the Rust Belt. The steel mills of Pittsburgh and the textile factories of Allentown went dark. The state felt like a relic. But Pennsylvania did something that many other states failed to do. It leaned into its institutional gravity. The state is home to an incredible density of universities and medical research centers. As the world moved into the biodigital age of the 2020s, Pennsylvania stopped trying to mine coal and started mining data and DNA. In 2026, Pennsylvania offers a cost-to-culture ratio that is nearly unbeatable. You have the historical weight of Philadelphia, a city that was the nation's first capital, offering a gritty, authentic urban experience at a fraction of the cost of New York or Boston. But the real magic of Pennsylvania in 2026 lies in its Tier 2 cities, places like Lancaster and the Lehigh Valley. These areas have become the refuge for the remote professional. Imagine living in a farmhouse built in 1790, equipped with fiber-optic internet, located 2 hours from both NYC and DC. That is the Pennsylvania strategy. It's a province that offers historical insurance. In an uncertain future, there is a deep psychological comfort in living in a place that has already survived the rise and fall of 3 different industrial revolutions. 9. The empire's pivot. It is easy to bet against New York. People have been doing it since the 1970s. In the early 2020s, the New York is dead narrative reached a fever pitch. High taxes, crime headlines, and a mass exodus of the ultra-wealthy led many to believe the empire state had finally collapsed under its own weight. But to understand why New York is 9 in 2026, you have to understand the agglomeration effect. History shows us that New York doesn't just grow, it molts, it sheds its skin and becomes something else. The province of New York was originally New Netherland, a commercial outpost for the Dutch. It was never about ideology, it was always about trade. The turning point for New York happened when the state government realized it couldn't just rely on Wall Street anymore. They launched a massive, multi-billion-dollar initiative to turn the I-90 corridor, stretching from Albany to Buffalo, into the Silicon Frontier. By 2026, the Micron semiconductor plant in Syracuse and the nanotech hubs in Albany have reached critical mass. This isn't just about New York City anymore. The Empire State has diversified. When you live in New York in 2026, you are paying a premium for access. Access to the world's most sophisticated labor market, access to a transport infrastructure that, despite its flaws, remains the only true mass transit system in the Western Hemisphere, and access to a cultural output that defines global trends. The tension in New York is real. The taxes are high, the winters are harsh, but the cause and effect is clear. New York provides the highest social ceiling. If you want to be the best in the world at what you do, you still have to pass through the gates of the empire. 8. The Zion of stability. If Pennsylvania is about the past and New York is about the present, Utah is a province obsessed with the future. In 1847, Brigham Young looked at the Salt Lake Valley and said, "This is the place." It was a desert, it was inhospitable, but the pioneers who settled there had a province mindset. They weren't there to extract wealth, they were there to build a fortress. In 2026, that fortress is complete. Utah is currently the one state in the nation for fiscal stability. While other states are struggling with pension crises and crumbling debt, Utah runs its government like a high-performance tech company. The rise of Utah wasn't an accident. It was a 20-year plan to lure tech talent away from the chaos of California. They offered a pro-business environment, but more importantly, they offered a moral geography. In 2026, the Utah lifestyle is the ultimate status symbol for the modern family. It's the ability to work for a Fortune 500 company in the morning and be skiing at Park City by 3:00 p.m. But there's a deeper reason why Utah is 8. It's the social capital. Utah consistently ranks at the top for community well-being. In an era of loneliness and social fragmentation, Utah has maintained a cohesive social fabric. Whether you belong to the dominant faith or not, the Beehive State operates on a principle of cooperation that makes it incredibly resilient to economic shocks. It is a province that proves that growth is not just about bringing in more people, it's about bringing in the right infrastructure to support them. 7. Florida. If you look at the migration maps of 2026, all roads seem to lead to the peninsula. Florida has always been a province of dreams. In the 1500s, Ponce de Leon came here looking for the fountain of youth. In the 1920s, land boomers sold underwater lots to unsuspecting northerners. And in 2026, the dream has shifted once again. It is no longer just a place to retire, it is a place to recapitalize. The cause and effect. The surge of Florida to 7 is driven by a singular, powerful force: the tax migration. In an era where tax-efficient living has become a middle-class survival strategy, Florida's lack of state income tax is a gravitational pull that is hard to ignore. But there is a catch, a narrative tension that most brochures won't tell you. By 2026, the cost of the dream has changed. Insurance premiums have skyrocketed, and the median home price in cities like Tampa and Orlando has pushed many locals to the brink. So why does it remain a top province? Because of its economic momentum. Florida isn't just beaches and theme parks anymore. It has become a hub for aerospace, fintech, and international trade. It's a state that decided to trade stability for growth. If you are a risk taker, If you thrive in a high-energy, high-reward environment, Florida in 2026 is your arena. It is a province that operates on the edge, between the rising tides of the Atlantic and the rising wealth of a new American elite. 6. Maine. While the South burns with economic heat, the North offers a different kind of luxury, solitude. Maine is often called the Pine Tree State, but in the colonial era, it was a disputed territory, a rugged frontier between the British and the French. It was a place for people who didn't want to be found. In 2026, that sentiment has returned. Maine has moved up the rankings because it has become a climate haven. As heat waves and water scarcity dominate the headlines in the West and the South, Maine's abundance of fresh water and its cooling Atlantic breezes have made it the ultimate insurance policy. In 2026, Maine is the two-state for safety, but its real value lies in its rejection of the hustle. The state has invested heavily in rural broadband, allowing remote workers to live in 19th-century coastal villages while working for companies in London or Tokyo. Maine represents the Great Deceleration. It is for the person who has realized that the most valuable thing you can own in 2026 isn't a faster car or a bigger house. It's a view of a forest that will still be there in 50 years. It is a province of permanence. 5. Minnesota. There is a quiet dignity to Minnesota. It doesn't scream for attention like Florida or New York. Instead, it simply works. In 2026, Minnesota holds the 5 spot, largely due to what sociologists call the high-trust society. Historically, Minnesota was settled by Scandinavian immigrants who brought with them a deep belief in the common good. This isn't just a feel-good sentiment, it's an economic strategy. Minnesota has one of the highest rates of voter turnout, one of the best-funded public school systems, and a healthcare infrastructure centered around the world-renowned Mayo Clinic. Why does this matter now? Because in 2026, the American middle class is under pressure. Minnesota is one of the few places where the old deal still exists. You work hard, you pay your taxes, and in return, you get world-class parks, safe streets, and schools that actually prepare your children for the future. It is a state that prioritizes human capital. It has the highest primary care physician density in the nation. It's the province for the quiet professional, the person who wants a high-functioning society and is willing to shovel a little snow to get it. 4. Wisconsin. Just across the border from Minnesota lies its rival and partner, Wisconsin. For years, Wisconsin was seen as a flyover province, a place of cheese and football, but perhaps not a place of the future. 2026 has proven that theory wrong. Wisconsin has climbed to 4 by mastering the hybrid economy. It didn't abandon its manufacturing roots, it digitized them. The state's BioForward initiative has turned the Madison-Milwaukee corridor into a global powerhouse for biotech and medical manufacturing. The cause and effect of affordability. The real reason Wisconsin is a 2026 winner, the housing hedge. As prices in the Sun Belt and the tech coasts became unsustainable, Wisconsin remained a bastion of affordability. But unlike other cheap states, Wisconsin didn't sacrifice quality. It maintained its province of education status, with the University of Wisconsin system acting as an engine for constant innovation. In 2026, Wisconsin is the answer to the question, where can I live a top-tier life without $1 million mortgage? It is the province of the realized dream. 3. New Jersey. For decades, New Jersey existed in the shadow of its neighbors. It was the province between, the transit corridor between New York and Philadelphia. But by 2026, the punchlines have stopped. New Jersey has ascended to the 3 spot in America, not by being flashy, but by becoming a fortress of security. In an era where public safety has become the primary metric for internal migration, New Jersey holds the title of 1 in public safety nationwide. How did a state with such high density achieve this? It was a calculated, multi-generational investment in community policing and social safety nets. But the real secret sauce of 2026 New Jersey is its educational hegemony. The state doesn't just have good schools, it has a public education system that consistently ranks as the best or second best in the entire country. When you combine that with the highest median household income in the nation, you get a province that has effectively middle-classed its way to invincibility. In 2026, New Jersey is where the safety-conscious professional goes to hide in plain sight. It offers the world-class infrastructure of a global city with a crime rate that rivals rural villages. It is a province that proves that high taxes, when channeled into elite public services, create a quality of life that is nearly impossible to disrupt. 2. Idaho. If New Jersey is the fortress of the establishment, Idaho is the wild card of the West. In 1863, the Idaho Territory was a chaotic sprawl of miners and pioneers. It was a province of extraction. For 150 years, it remained quiet, known mostly for its rugged landscapes and agricultural exports. Then came the 2020s. By 2026, Idaho has completed its transformation from a rural secret to an economic supernova. It is the two-state to live in America for one reason: momentum. While the rest of the country grappled with stagnation, Idaho's population surged, driven by equity refugees from the West Coast who brought billions of dollars in capital to the Treasure Valley. What makes Idaho special in 2026 is its balance. It has managed to maintain a 4 ranking in public safety despite having the fastest-growing economy in the Union. It is the pro-business province that forgot to become dangerous. The cause and effect here is a feedback loop. Low taxes attract high earners demand low crime and better parks, and the vast, untouched wilderness of the backcountry provides a psychological reset button that the crowded coasts can no longer offer. In 2026, Idaho represents the new frontier. It is for the person who wants to be part of an upward trajectory, a province where the air is still clear, the mountains are still big, and the future still feels like it hasn't been written yet. 1. Massachusetts. At the summit of the American experiment sits the Commonwealth. Massachusetts was the first province to truly challenge the crown. It was founded on a covenant, a belief that a community is only as strong as its weakest link. In 2026, that 400-year-old philosophy has paid the ultimate dividend. Massachusetts is the one best state to live in America for 2026. The metrics of mastery. It isn't just one thing, it is everything. Massachusetts ranks 1 in education, 1 in health, and 1 in economic innovation. The state has achieved a critical mass of intelligence. By housing the world's most prestigious universities, Harvard and MIT, within a few miles of each other, it created a gravity well for the global knowledge economy. In 2026, while other states are trying to attract factories, Massachusetts is inventing the industries that will replace those factories. Perhaps the most telling statistic of 2026 is this: Massachusetts has an insurance coverage rate of over 97% and the lowest premature death rate in the country. It is a province that has decided that health is wealth. Living here isn't cheap, in fact, it's one of the most expensive places on earth. But in 2026, people are willing to pay the Massachusetts premium. Why? Because it is the only place that offers total system reliability. When you live here, you aren't just buying a house. You are buying into a system that works, from the schools your children attend to the hospitals that will save your life. It is the province that turned intellectual capital into a permanent shield against the chaos of the modern world. Here is the powerful, high-impact conclusion for your script, written in English with the depth and narrative tension required for a professional voiceover. We have traveled across the breadth of the American experiment. We have seen the intellectual cathedrals of Massachusetts, the rugged, explosive frontiers of Idaho, and the ironclad safety of New Jersey. But as the journey concludes, a deeper question lingers in the air. Why do some places become legends while others fade into the dust of history? In the year 2026, the definition of the best province has undergone a radical transformation. It is no longer competition of who has the most land or the lowest taxes. Today, the ultimate currency is resilience. We are living in an era where the world feels fragile, where climate, economy, and society are in a constant state of flux. The 10 states on this list didn't just survive this shift, they anticipated it. There is a hidden logic connecting these 10 winners. They all mastered the art of the strategic pivot. Pennsylvania didn't mourn the loss of its steel mills. It turned them into laboratories for the genetic codes of tomorrow. Minnesota didn't settle for being a quiet agricultural hub. It built a healthcare fortress that the rest of the world looks to for survival. These provinces realized that a state's true wealth isn't buried in the ground. It is found in the collective stability and genius of its people. What we are witnessing in 2026 is the great sorting. The digital revolution has unchained us from the office desk, giving us a choice our ancestors never had. We are no longer forced to live where we work. We are choosing to live where we thrive. When you choose one of these 10 provinces, you aren't just choosing a zip code. You are buying into a social contract. You are choosing a system that promises to educate your children, protect your streets, and preserve the air you breathe. You are choosing a place that has decided that quality of life is not a luxury, but a fundamental right. We call these states untouchable because they have built moats made of time and intent. You can build a road in a year, but you cannot build social trust in a decade. You can offer a tax break tomorrow, but you cannot recreate the generational excellence of a top-tier school system overnight. These 10 provinces are the new anchors of the American story. They have become historically significant because they chose to invest in the slow build. They chose the difficult path of building deep roots rather than chasing shallow growth. In the beginning, we said that borders are often just lines in our minds. History used to be something that happened to us, decided by kings, dictated by crowns, and mapped by explorers. But in 2026, history is something you navigate. The data is in your hands. The map is glowing on your screen. The best place to live isn't necessarily the one with the highest GDP or the most famous skyline. The best province is the one that reflects the person you want to become. It is the place where your family's future is not a gamble, but a certainty. The map is open. The frontiers have been redefined. The only question that remains is the one only you can answer.